Okay, I said it'd be right back. This is a continuation from the last video. You might want to go there first before you come here. But if you happen to watch the testimony today with Dr. Elizabeth La Posada, cross-examination, where one half of the Bow Brigade tried to turn herself into Dora the Explorer and pick an entirely different fucking path to take this case down. Because what she said on day 2 was entirely different than what she said today. And again, not sure the jury keeps up with these things, but they have notebooks and they write stuff down. And I would think that somewhere someone's going to go, didn't Patrick say something different about this at the very beginning? Yes, he did. So let's talk about these exercise bands. Now, this entire cross-examination is meant to be a gotcha. Didn't you have a case like this before? Wasn't it where a mother strangled her child? And it's a completely different case because in that one, it's a manual strangulation. This one is a ligature strangulation. I'm going to explain it to you real quick, but I have a feeling that we all know this, but the ADA doesn't. A manual strangulation is like manual. You grab somebody around the neck and you squeeze, and your fingers are on their jugular right here, right? So you're stopping blood from going to their brain, and you have to hold it firmly in place for quite a long period of time. They're going to lose consciousness pretty much right away, right? Probably the first at least 5 to 20 seconds we determined today. But then you have to keep going until the point of death. And by the way, the person that you are strangling is fighting you. They're probably wrestling. At some point, your hands might slip. It's all you can do to keep that grip for that long of a period of time. So anybody that says Lindsay would never have had the time to go and strangle all 3 children and still make it back upstairs, do the suicide attempt before Patrick got home and called 911, because you're picturing a manual process and not a ligature process. In this case, what happened was she took the exercise bands and she wrapped them around and then tied them. Now today, the prosecution wanted us to believe, and she says, do you realize that there's no medical information submitted into this case that proves the bands were tied? And La Posada's like, well, you wrap it around tight enough. Like, she's thinking if you wrap it around enough layers, right? It's like when you take a piece of string and you go around your finger like this, you don't have to knot it. It's fucking tight. And pretty soon your finger turns white. It's the same concept. But then she does this demonstration, and you guys, oh my God, could you see the camera closed in close as she was pulling on those gloves? And I thought she was going to tear them. You could just tell she was so angry. She's so caught up in this moment, like, I'm going to teach you, you fucking bitch. And she's pulling on her gloves, and she pulls that thing out, and she goes like this and drops it on the table. And she's like, but what she forgets is back on day 2, she pressed Patrick on this. Because remember, this started out, I don't know what it's turned into, but it started out being a situation where they insisted that Lindsay is a cold-blooded murderer and that she did it viciously and violently. And so they wanted in the beginning for everyone to believe that she wrapped the bands around and then she tied them in knots so they could emphasize what a monster she was. And Patrick was up on the stand, and I'm going to show you, you've probably seen it already, but I'm going to show you his transcript. It picks up here where he's saying he found Cora. Well, how did she look? She had a band around her neck. And was that the exercise band? Yes. And do you recall what position she was in? She was face down. And when you saw her in that condition, what did you do? I immediately ran over and tried to take the band off. Were you able to get the band off? Yeah. And do you recall how you got the band off? And he says, I think I untied it. And then she goes in hard. When you said untied it, was it in a knot that you had to put everything down and unknot it? Like, how was it tied? And he says, I'm not sure I fully remember. She's like, you know what? Let me remind you. Do you recall describing it previously? Which means this is probably what he said in a police statement or some earlier questioning, or maybe when he was questioned himself during the investigation that they did on Patrick. When you described it previously as when you initially tie your shoes, but then don't do the bow. So she's getting Patrick to say on the stand under oath that the bands were wrapped around and then once like through a loop-de-loop like this, which would be enough to hold them in place. And he says, yeah, that sounds right. And see, that testimony at that time fit her narrative because she was coming out strong. Lindsay the monster, she maliciously did this. She tied in knots those bands around their little necks because she wanted the jury to hate Lindsay. Now, today, she wanted the jury to hate the doctor. This is a sign, and I'm not a prosecutor, but when you get to this point, you got to fucking know that you have entirely lost your mind because you're so busy trying to get an expert witness who, by the way, testifies in a ton of trials. She's very reliable. I'm being biased because I adore her, but I think she does a really nice job of explaining how these injuries happen. And she's trying so hard to get that gotcha moment that she inadvertently strays from her own story. Of course, tying them in a bow or a knot would ensure that there was constant compression. So once you wrapped them around and tied it, you could, I hate to say it, but you could move on to the next child. It can be done in a much shorter time frame than the district attorney would have you think. I think today we witnessed a floundering assistant district attorney who has lost the plot. She can't figure out how to dig herself out of this hole that she's gotten herself into. Takes a swing at a well-respected expert witness, and in doing so, completely explodes her own fucking story. Unbelievable. I also need to talk about what they did to those moms, both Patrick's mom and Lindsay's mom, and Pastor Bob. Still got to come back and talk about that. That'll probably be tomorrow morning.